Hey, welcome back everyone to Board Game Breakdown. I am Kristofer Solomon and I'm here with another video. And this time we are going to be talking about Viscounts of the West Kingdom. So this is the third game in the West Kingdom trilogy, and it's been out since 2020, so it's not a brand new game. But it is one of my favorites, and I never made a video on it. And they actually, Garphill Games, who made this and designed it, has a new game that just recently came out called Wayfarers. So I thought now would be a good time to put it out because there might be some people coming to know Garphill Games through that new game that I mentioned. I think they've also put out a new Kickstarter for the second game in that Tigress. Wayfarers of the Tigress is the first game in that trilogy. So I wanted to put this out because I just really love this game. I love it from a multiplayer aspect. I love it from a solo aspect, and it's just really cool. So this video is going to concentrate on the solo version. I think there's a whole lot out there about the multiplayer version, but I wanted to concentrate on the solo version. So the gist of it is you're going to be moving your little Viscount here, this dude on a horse, around these two circles, these circular paths. You're going to kind of be weaving in and out of them, and then taking some different actions. You can build buildings, you can buy manuscripts, you can place your workers in this castle that does a really fun mechanism, and you're going to power all that with these cards. So you'll be making a deck, kind of like a small deck builder with townspeople. You'll have a hero card, and you'll be placing those down to power your engine that you build out here. So it's really fun, mixes a lot of mechanics together. The solo game is really cool. So we'll do this one's a little longer than normal, but I have a setup section, and then I have a section where I'm gonna kind of dive into the detail of a couple of the phases and actions you take. And then we will do a couple rounds of the solo game. So if you want to skip to any certain part, make sure to use the chapters that I've got put in the description of the video so you can speed through to where you want to be. Lastly, real quick, before we get going any more on the video, make sure to check out our website at boardgamebreakdown.com. We have a lot of text reviews. We have a text version of the Viscounts review up there. We have some other stuff. We're also an Amazon affiliate, so if you find anything you want to purchase from Amazon, if you can click the link on our site, then we can get a small commission. That'll just help keep making videos for everyone out there. You can also check us out on Instagram at board.game.breakdown. Chat with us there and let us know what you think. So without further ado, let's get started on Viscounts of the West Kingdom. All right, welcome to the setup portion of the Viscounts of the West Kingdom video. So we are concentrating solely on the solitaire version. So I might mention a few things about how it differs from the multiplayer version, but all the setup and rules and the quick how to play sections are going to really concentrate on the solo version. I really like how the solo version in this game works. It's a pretty neat little way of doing it. So we'll get started. A lot of this I have already set up physically and placed out there, so you don't have to watch me shuffle cards or things like that, but I will discuss each of the things that I did so that you can understand. So first, let's talk about the main board that's over here. All right, so there's 5 pieces here that are module, so you can put them in different orders. They're also 2-sided for depending on how many players you have. You cannot see it right now, but underneath this little castle that lifts up, it will tell you which side to use. So each of these says like 1 to 3 players or 1 to 2 players. The back side has a higher player count. So you place these 5 pieces out in whatever order you want to. You lock them in place with the little castle. You'll see that the castle has these little cardboard inserts you place them in there. When you first get the game, it tells you how to put them in, what level is what, and then it basically stays that way. But you can turn the castle when you lock it in here to face any random way that you want it to. So in that way, the board changes every time you play it. The other things you'll see on the board are these stacks of manuscripts and the townsfolk cards. So the townsfolk cards have a back that look like this. You'll basically just shuffle the whole deck. And I also want to make mention of they have this kind of generic name here, and it has this kind of grayish, brownish, blackish something background there. That is going to be how you differentiate them between townsfolk or your starter cards or the hero cards, things like that, which we'll talk about. But you basically just shuffle them up, and then you evenly split them as close as you can into 5 piles and stick them out here. So I think you throw like 12 to 14 cards in a pile, and that's good enough. You also have these manuscripts, so I'm going to flip one of these stacks over, and you'll see that there is a gray back and then black backs. So you have 5 gray back ones, and when you first set it up, you'll put the lay the 5 gray back ones out on the table, and then randomly stack 6 black backed manuscripts on the back of each one, and then you flip them over and place them here. So that way the top one of each of these little stacks, is a gray background. So you'll always start with these same 5 manuscripts, but they might be in different places, and then underneath them, the black backed ones are randomized. So that is how you set up this board. Now we're going to move over here to our player boards, and for this game, make sure I can focus on the player board, and where needed I'll do some close-ups so you can see the icons and things that I'm talking about. But for this playthrough, I am going to be blue, so this is my board, and then the AI is going to be red, who has its own board. But for your board, when you play a solo game, you'll grab these boards out of the box. They are double-sided as well. The back side is for the AI player, and I'll show you shortly how they are different. And then the other side is all identical. So this would be the side you would use if you were playing with multiplayers, or the side that you use for yourself in a solo game. You're going to want to pick out one of the, I think, 5 colors. Again, like I said, in this game we are blue. So a couple things that you're going to get is your actual Viscount here, dude on the horse. So you get one of those. You get 20 workers over here. These little dudes are going to hang out in the castle. And then you have 9 buildings, and there are 3 different types. So you have these workshops. You have these tall ones that are guild halls. And you have these that are trading posts. And it tells you at the top of the board here which buildings to put where. And what's going to happen is, you'll see when we play, that you'll eventually build these things and it'll unlock an extra ability or power or something. If you've ever played Tapestry from Stonemaier Games, that's a very similar situation where you move buildings off of your individual board to put in your capital map, and it is basically a way to gain resources. You're also going to want to grab these 2 little markers. The black one is a corruption marker. The white one is a virtue marker. You're going to place the black one here, the white one there, and we'll talk about the specifics of that later, but you're going to want to start out with one of each of those. And then lastly, you're going to want to grab your starter cards. So there's 8. You'll see again that right here, they have the backing color of whatever color you're playing as. And every person starts with the same 8 starting deck. So nobody has an advantage of that. And you'll just sit that there for the time being. Now for the AI player up here, again, you're going to grab a board, but you're going to flip it over. Sorry, I moved this earlier and it kind of messed this up. You're going to flip it over to the AI side. And the way you know it's the AI side is you'll see that we have this section down here that looks a little bit different than their section up here. So their section is going to show what action this AI is like specifically going for. So we're playing as the AI that really likes manuscripts, and that is what they want to focus on. So each back of the play mats, they basically have the AI focusing on a different skill set. They also get the 9 buildings. Theirs go in a slightly different order, but up here it tells you again which buildings go where. So you're just going to throw those in the appropriate spots. They get their 20 workers just like you do. They get a virtue marker and a corruption marker just like you do. And then you also want to give them this little handy reference card, which is going to help us throughout the game because there are certain actions that they are going to get that they don't actually take. Instead, this card tells us what they get in compensation for it. So like if they ever were to get 2 gold coins, the AI doesn't care about gold coins. So instead of 2 gold coins, they get a resource. And up here, you'll see, and we'll go into this more later, but each of them gets a different little priority list for their resources. So in the case of this one, the resources, they really want inkwells because they're going for the manuscript until they get more than 6, and then they want to do stone until they get more than 4, and then lastly they will take the other resource, which is a gold, and that helps put people in the castle. I mentioned stone, that helps build the buildings. Lastly, for them, the AI, they need their cards. So unlike us, sorry if you heard that, that was the ice maker. Unlike for us, they don't get a deck like this. They get an AI deck, and it's made up of, the backs look like this. But you will want to separate them into these brown headers and these black headers. So you'll separate them, which I've already done. And then you'll also look right here, and it tells you a few different cards that you want to pull out for that specific AI player. So those 3 cards, there's a 1 brown and 2 black, I've already pulled out. Once you've done that, you're just going to basically shuffle up the browns. And this is their schemes. I think it's called the scheme deck. And then the blacks are like a little more complex. And so these are advanced schemes or future schemes, something like that. And they'll go there and basically we'll be shuffling those in so their deck gets a little more harder to go against as the game progresses. All right, so lastly, what we want to do here is, you can't quite see it, but show you, there are hero cards. So they have the same back as our townsfolk and stuff, but on the flip side, they actually get a name, and that's how you know they're a hero. So in a solo game, you're going to take 2 of these and put them out. So I'm going to put them here just so you can see. So we have Clovis. What was it? Lothair. All right, so you do that, and then there is one last little thing of cards, which on one side is a handy dandy little explanation of like what things score at the end of the game. But on the flip side, you have this, and you're going to have 10 of these. And so in the solitaire game, you'll get 2 of these, and you'll pair them up with the hero. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pick one of those, combinations, and then the other one is what the AI is going to get. And the AI does not get the hero, but they do get, basically they are told where to put their Viscount, which is the little guy on the horse, so we know which spot he starts at. And then they instead are going to get all of those things on that card to start with. So let's see. I don't really pay attention to what these guys do. Clovis. Let's just take this. We're going to take these two. All right, so that means basically for this, AI guy is going to start on space 4. Throw those over there. On the board, let's grab his horse. You'll see that each of these little starter areas have a number. So here's 4. You'll see that they're only on the outer ring of spaces. There's an inner ring, but the AI player is only going to travel on the outside. So that's why they are only numbered on the outside. So we're going to put him on 4. We're going to also take our hero. We're going to drop him in our deck, and then we're going to shuffle our deck up. All right, so ooh. All right, so there's our deck. And then we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to say, okay, we need to start off on space 5. So take our Viscount, and we'll find 5, which is right here. Boom. What else? These are our resources, so we're going to get 2 gold and 1 inkwell. So you'll see that, here's my handy painted thing that I use for wingspan a lot because it's a bird, obviously. But you've got gold, you got inkwells, you got stone. So we get 2 gold and 1 inkwell. Over there. We also get 4 gold coins. Let's grab our gold coins here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We get these red and black cards, which we haven't talked about because they're off camera a little bit, but they're deeds and debts, and it's going to be one of the main ways that the end of the game is triggered, and how you score a pretty good amount of points. So I'm going to grab off screen here. So this prosperity card, it gets you points at the end of the game, but it's going to basically tell you here, depending on how many people you play with, how many cards need to be on top of this. So I've already grabbed out 12, so they're going to go on top like that. And basically when we run out of these, or the black cards, that's going to trigger the end of the game. But I want to get out of our 12 that we counted out of the stack. I get 1 red card, so this counts as a point, and at some point if I get to flip it, it'll count as 3 points. So I'm just going to set this here, and then I also get 1 black, and you'll see here that it is a negative 2 points, but if I ever flip it and destroy the debt, then I get a free resource. So here, let's put those there. Those little workers. All right. And then lastly, this icon means that I can take a townsfolk or recruit them, which is any of these guys on here, for free. At least for right now. It's typically not free, but for this go around, it's free, and I immediately trigger this thing up in the top right. So I'm going to take this benefactor, and so you'll see here underneath either the recruit, which is the plus symbol, or this, which is I think it's dismiss, which is an action you can take. When either one of those happen, I can move this to the left. So I will go ahead and slide this to the left one, and then this guy goes into my discard, and he'll eventually get shuffled back in. So that is my starting things, and then I can always flip it over and use it as that. And now, lastly, we want to give the AI guy his starting things, and all of his starting things are based off of what's on this card right here. Or not card, what's on his board. You'll see his is printed. So he's going to get one inkwell because he really likes to do manuscripts, and one stone because his backup is building buildings. He is also going to get one red card. He's also going to get one black card. This means he gets to take off the leftmost guild hall and put it in one of the locations, or the leftmost location where his Viscount is. So we're going to go ahead and remove his leftmost, which that's going to give him all the time an extra, basically manuscript token. You'll see the little cross logo right there. Now that we've unveiled that, he will always have that to be counted. That's going to make more sense when you start playing the game. And then that's going to go here. So you'll see on the outside ring, there are these little spots to put buildings. They trigger different things. And so we're going to sit here. It always goes on the leftmost one that he can do. And so he has these two available because they are adjacent to this spot. If he was here, he would have these two spots available. So because he put on that, it triggers this. Again, that was the recruiting, but the AI doesn't recruit people. We're gonna look here and we're gonna say, okay, if he has to discard a card, or sorry, that's like destroying a card, removing it from the game, or recruiting somebody, he's actually going to flip. And when you flip, you're going to flip, the priority is whichever one you have the least of flipped. Either depending on red or black. If they're the same, you're always going to flip black, so that he does not lose points at the end of the game. So we'll come over here. Since we have neither one are flipped, we will flip the black. That immediately, this lightning symbol means we do this thing. We give him a resource. His resource he really likes, remember, is right there. So that's an inkwell. So we're going to grab an inkwell from the bird and give it to him. All right, so we are done with that. Lastly, real quick, there are a couple extra cards that you can't see, but there's going to be 4 of these, and all this is basically saying is the first person to get 3 manuscripts of any of the colors, so there's blue, gray, black, and yellow, you will always have this emblem giving you an extra one of those to use, and you also get 3 points at the end of the game. So those are off screen, but that's winnable. And then you also have this one, which is the first person to get a worker in the center of the castle, as denoted by this emblem, gets to start drawing an extra card from their hand, and they get 5 points at the end of the game. All right, so I think that is set up and ready to go. So what we will do next is I will do a quick rundown on how the cards work, because that's the first phase of the game, and then I'll do a a little introduction portion of each of the actions you can do out here, of the 4 actions, and then we will put those together and we will play a couple rounds so you can see how it works. All right, so welcome back. We're going to start looking at the different phases of a turn and go into some detail on just a few of the actions. I'm going to only concentrate on what our character or player would be doing, not the AI's, because once you learn the actions that you can take, then the AI's card is going to make a lot more sense. So each turn is broken down into 6 phases. I want to concentrate on the first 3 and kind of give you some more detail on that so that when we actually take a few turns, it will make more sense. So the first phase is card management. And this up here is a little diagram kind of reminding you of the order of the phases and what happens in them. So to start the game, you're going to draw 3 cards. And you usually do this at the end of the previous turn, since it's the first turn. So here's our hand. Remember that everybody starts with the same starting deck, except the hero is slightly different. That's not really a big deal in the solo game because they don't even have an AI. But these are your cards. So we'll talk about the individual cards, what they look like here in a second. But out of your hand, you are going to want to place one and you put it in the leftmost spot here. You'll see that nothing is printed here, but there are some emblems printed there and there, which will make sense in a second. So let's look at a card, and for this, let's talk about this guy first, just for a minute. So a couple things on each card. In the top left-hand corner is a silver icon, the little silver gold coin, whatever it is, and a number. And this number is going to tell you how many spaces that you can move your little Viscount horse guy. So the card that you play down is going to really determine how many spaces you're going to move. Now, there are a couple other modifiers that you can open up and unlock, but for the most part, this is going to tell you I can move 1 space, and you have to move the amount of spaces that the card is. Underneath that, you're going to see an icon. Typically, if there is an icon, it's going to be one of I guess 5 different emblems. You have these bags, which are for trader actions. You can have a hammer for building actions. You can have a cross, a black cross for the manuscript actions. You can have the little gold here, this emblem there. I think was that a fleur de lis something. I don't know. Let's just call it the New Orleans Saints emblem. That is used for the people going into the castle, and then you can also have a skull like the thief here has, and a skull is basically a wild, but it does hurt you a little bit in a certain couple ways. So going back to the trader, let's look at him a little closer. Down here is a row of actions. These are going to happen depending on the emblem here. So there's, I think, 3 different emblems or 4 different choices. So you can have one of these that has the little recycle symbol. So what that means is whatever this says, as long as he's on your board, this is applicable. So for this, the trader basically, I'm trying to remember exactly, when you, man, I can't remember what that exactly means. That is the like action. Oh, okay. Sorry, I do remember now. This means for any trader action that you take during this turn, if he's on your board, you'll get an extra coin. Sorry, I had a little forgetting moment there. You can also have an X here. So when the thief comes out, you're not going to do these things, but eventually you'll see she's going to move down and then plop over here into the discard pile. When she moves into the discard pile, then these things are triggered. You could have someone like this that doesn't have any actions down here. You could lastly have one with a lightning bolt, which I do not see any out, but you'll see one pop out. And that means as soon as they come out, then their actions are triggered, and then you don't trigger their actions again. So for the first phase, you're going to decide who you want to play down. So let's just play this guy. So I'm going to put him there. Your hand just kind of stays over here. So if you have any skulls that you place down, you're going to want to move this over to your corruption. If you did not play any skulls, then you don't have to worry about moving that. So now the second phase, so that was our card management, we're going to move our Viscount. So remember, we're going to move it as many spots as is here, or the number value. So it's 1. So I'm going to come up here and I can move this guy 1 space. So you're going to see little arrows kind of helping you understand where you can move, because you can't just move anywhere. So from this space, there's an arrow this way, so I could move here, or I can move down to here. So those are my two options. Say I had a number 2 on this card, allowing me to move 2. I can move 1, and then when I get here, you'll see that this arrow is pointing up, so I can't move back down, so I would have to move here. So you're just going to follow the arrows around, and you're going to move between these inside and outside circles. So what determines where you want to move? It's going to really be down to what actions you're trying to take, because each spot has these little actions here telling you something you can do. So on the outer ring, you're either going to have these trader actions where you can turn your bags into a resource or a card, or you're going to build buildings, much like this guy did over here, on these outside spots. So building or trading is what's going on the outside. On the inside circle, when you land in one of these spots, you're either going to place workers into the castle, or you're going to buy the manuscript that's on the top here of whatever location that you're at. So if you want to buy this one, you had to be here. So those are the 4 actions I really want to discuss. So remember, outer ring is for trading and or building. Inner ring is for manuscripts and or placing workers in here. So I want to do some bags. Let's see. So let's just move 1 to here. Oh. All right. So part of this phase here shows that you can dismiss a townsperson. So dismissing would mean that I look at this card and I could dismiss him for 3, and then I would immediately do this, and I would get this for this 1 turn only. So that would give me a wild, which I could use as a bag this turn, and then this guy would go out of the game. I don't want to spend my $3 for that, so I'm going to just skip that. And then I'm on to phase 3, which is this little section here that's basically reminding us you're going to do one of your 4 actions. So let's talk about the actions. So let's first talk about trading, because I'm on a trading spot. So what this says is for every 4 bags, I can flip over a deed or a debt. Remember, the deeds and the debts are these black and red cards. So how do you know if you have 4 bags? You're going to look at all the cards and or emblems on your row down here and count up the bags. So I have 1 bag here, 2 bags, 3 bags. So I have 3 bags, I need 4. Now, as an added little help here, you can turn in 2 coins to be a resource, or a bag resource, in order to help you get to that threshold. If I was at this spot, it's hard to see, but it's 2 bags for 1 gold. So I could say, well, 1, 2, 3, I can use 2 of those and get 1 gold. Or I could spend 2 coins to make it 4 bags and get 2 gold. So what I will do in this turn, let's just pretend I would spend 2 gold. So that would go over here. And I would have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 bags, and I would be able to flip a deed or a debt. And I would flip this debt, and then I could get a resource. Okay, at that point, my turn would be over, except for these other phases, which are quick, and we will just go over that when we do the actual game. Okay, I'm going to give my stuff back so I don't forget where we're at as far as the game goes. Oh, and lastly, remember this action, if I took a trading action, which I did, I could get a coin. So I get another coin. So even though I spent 2 to make a bag, I would really get 1 back. All right, other options. So you could also build, since I'm on the outside ring, I could build here or here. Now, how do you build? So you need hammers. So I have 1 hammer. Up on this top row above your buildings, it shows you how many hammers you have to build each building. So like these 3 buildings, you have to spend 3 hammers on each one. These guys cost 7 hammers. These cost 5. Now, you can either have hammers or you can have stones, which I don't have any, but like the AI guy has a stone right now. So maybe I had 2 stones and 1 hammer. That adds up to 3, and I could build one of these. And what I would do is I would just take this one off, and then I would build it on one of these spots. And then from here on, I would get this action or ability or whatever this is. And I would basically have that hammer used, and then I would turn my 2 stones back into the bank. All right, if I'm down here, let's say I want to take the manuscript action, which is what our AI player is really focused on. We're going to look at the top one of these, and you'll see that it has a 3, so it needs 3 crosses to buy this. So down here, I only have 1 cross. But the inkwells, they're black, so they match. So if I had 2 of those, I could buy this. If I bought this, I would just put it in a little stack, and then the lightning bolt says immediately I get $4. So I'll put that back there. Lastly, if I was here, I could put workers into that spot in the castle. So here, it will give you this little map that basically says to put 1 worker in, you need 1 little saint symbol. 2 workers takes 3, 3 workers takes 5, 4 workers takes 8. So again, I only have 1 here, but then I have 2, 3. So I could spin those with this and have 3, and I could put 2 workers in. So what that would mean is I would take my 2 workers, and you put them on the outside row. Now, the way this works is, let's pretend I put in 3, because that's the magic number. When you put in 3, or if you put in 2 but you already had 1 there, you basically put your workers in this furthest level, and then you look at it and you say, where do I have 3 at? If you have 3 anywhere, you're going to take 1 worker and move it to the left, 1 worker and move it to the right, and 1 worker up a level, and then I immediately trigger whatever this action is. There's a possibility that then causes you to have 3 somewhere. Then you move to the left, move to the right, move up. Then maybe you have 3 in 1 spot on the second level. You trigger it again. So it kind of cascades down through. At the end of the game, you're going to score points. 1 point on this level, 2 points, 3 points for each worker that's in there. So if you can get them in there and move them up to the center, not only do you get some free resources and stuff, but you're going to get a lot of points at the end of the game. There is this whole mechanism where you can bump people out of the castle. If you have more than 3 people, maybe you have some guys here and they have some guys, you can bump them out. But we can discuss that if it comes up in the game. So that is the main actions. Remember, trading, and building happen on this outside ring. The inside ring is for the manuscripts and the people in the castle. One thing, I mean, I'm not like the top strategist at this game by far. My wife beats me most of the time, but I will say, like, you probably don't want to concentrate on everything. There's just not enough turns to you're only going to halfway do a couple things and really not do the other ones well at all. So you might want to just focus on maybe one or two. And when you're playing the AI, remember he has a focus, so his focus is up there with the cross. So he's going to be really buying these a lot. Then his backup resource is build the stone, so he's probably also going to be trying to build buildings. So you can keep that in mind depending on what mat you are playing against. All right, so what I will do is I'm going to just put this back over here. I'm going to reshuffle actually. All right, so we will take a quick break and then we will jump into playing through a few sessions and I'll show you how the AI plays. All right, welcome back. We're finally going to play a couple rounds. Thanks for sticking with me here. This is quite a bit to get through, but let's start here with the 3 cards. So if you skipped the last session or the last section of the video, I went into depth on the first couple phases. So if you missed that and you don't know about them, go back and watch it because I am going to speed through those portions a little bit so that we can get a few rounds in. So card management, I've got my hand. I got to pick one of these to play here. So remember, these two both have something that happens when they fall off. This guy doesn't do much of anything except give me some of this. So I will use the journeyman here. So I'll do that mostly because he gives me 2 bags. So he's going to allow me to move 2 spaces because remember that is predicated off of this. So let's see. What I'll do is, remember you have to follow the arrow, so I can go here, 1, 2, there. I want to use my bags because right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on my board. So for every 2 bags, I can get a gold. I'll shoot for some gold now because I already have 2, and that way I can get some people into the castle. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I get 2 gold. Put those there. All right, so I've done my card management. I've done my movement. I could have dismissed this guy, but I don't really want to do that. I've done my actions. Last thing to do here is there's a couple different things in order, but they're all pretty quick. So I could recruit a person. So I could recruit this card of the townsfolk that is there. I would have to pay their money here, and then I get to put them into the discard pile so they get shuffled back in. I'm probably not going to do that. You do get cards like this guy. When he falls off, you're going to get to recruit anybody for free. So I'll get people that way. Also, I don't like flooding my deck with too many of these guys because then I don't really know what's coming. I like to keep my deck kind of small and light. So that's that. This means we are going to check for our corruption and our virtue tokens, these, to see if they've collided. So it's called a collision, and we need to do a couple things if they've collided. So I look here, they haven't. You'll notice that the white's basically going to be traveling this way, the black's going to be traveling this way, and at some point they'll meet. We probably won't actually see that happen because it takes a little bit of time, but if it doesn't, I'll make sure to pretend later on at the end of this section, and we can just talk about how that works. And then this, you draw back up to your 3 cards. So I've got these 2, so I go ahead and pull this one and put it here. At that point, my turn is over. So let's look at the AI. You're going to draw the top card and you're going to flip it over. So there's a couple of different things here that we're looking at, and you're going to work from the top down and do all the things in order if they're applicable. If they're not applicable, then you are going to look at your little card up there and give them the appropriate resources or things of that nature. So this is going to go here, and this top brown or black, when we get into their cards, that just acts as another resource for him. So you'll see that he has a lot of crosses right off the bat. He's got this cross up here. Sorry, my arm's in the way. That cross. He's got this cross, and he has 2 inkwells. Now the AI player is only going to move around the outside. Even if they're on the outside, they can still buy manuscripts or put people into the castle. They're never going to travel on the inside lane. All right, so that top spot is blank, so we are going to get to ignore that. And so we move down 1. So that next one, the little arrow or play symbol, that's going to indicate that AI is going to dismiss the townfolk that's currently adjacent to their Viscount. And remember, if we dismiss somebody, we're going to remove that card from the game, and they gain the immediate effect on the top right. They don't gain any icons. They don't have to pay to dismiss. You'll see the little red X there. So this is the card that is going to be dismissed because it's in the section that they're at. If you look, the top right is moving their virtue token over 1 to the left, so we'll go ahead and do that. All right, moving down, we're going to move their Viscount 3 spots. Again, always around the top, so 1, 2, 3. And then the bottom is going to give you some different options here. And it's going to tell us here that it wants to attempt to buy the manuscript. If it cannot, then you will do what's on the second side. So sometimes there's like a couple different actions, and you'll just work left to right and make the AI do whatever it can. Sometimes you'll see this icon. It's like a green little icon, and that just means that it wants the AI to do whatever it specializes in, which happens for this guy to be manuscripts. So he wants to buy a manuscript. He's got to buy the one in this section he's at. It's this one that I previewed last time. So he needs 3 crosses to buy this. So before we use any of his inkwells, we can see if he has 3 on his board. He does. 1, 2, 3. So he actually doesn't have to spend any of those inkwells. He just has the crosses on his board. He's going to take this and just put it in his little pile over here. And he would normally, if it was a regular player, he would get 4 gold coins. But he does not care about gold coins at all, the AI. So for every 2 coins, he gets a resource. So he gets 2 resources, and we're going to look at this little chart. And until he has 6 or more than 6, well, I guess until he has 6 inkwells, he always wants inkwells. So both of his resources he gets are going to be inkwells so that he can get more manuscripts later on. All right, so at that point, he is done. He doesn't have to draw new cards. He doesn't have the chance to buy people from here since they don't even go into his. We would check for collisions like we do on our board, but he gets no he has no collision at this point. So we go back over to our hand. All right, so remember we have our 3. Now, what we're going to do first is we're going to take everybody on our board and we're going to slide them down 1. So we only have this guy, so we'll slide him down. And then we got to pick from these dudes. So let's see. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. And I need 5 to put 3 guys in. So we're going to do this. We'll use her because she is a wild. So we put her down. And immediately it shows right here that if you put a wild person down, you move the corruption marker once to the right for her skull. And then if we had any more skulls, you also move for them. But it's only her, so we're going to move that over once to the right. And then we move the amount of spaces that is in the top left, so 1. So from here I could move down or I could move over here, but I want to use the castle, so I'm going to move down to that spot. I could dismiss this guy and get another wild, but looking at our little chart here, I either need 5 of the little saint symbols or 8. So using his 1 is not going to be a big deal, so I'll skip that. So I've done card management, I've done move, I've decided not to do this, and now I'm to this point. So I can look at my resources. So basically I only have these bags, and then I have this wild. So I'm going to use the wild, I'm going to use all 4 of these gold tokens, resources, and so I've used 5, so I get to place 3 workers into the castle. So I'm going to take my 3, I'm going to throw one of them, I guess. And so you put them into the spot next to where your Viscount is adjacent to. Boom. So we have 3. Now remember, at this point you look at it and you say, do I have 3 anywhere? Or is there a combination of your workers and the other player's workers where there's 3? Well, yes, there is 3 because I just put them there. So I'm going to move 1 to the left spot, 1 to the right spot, and 1 to the center. Now I get to do whatever that says immediately, and that is to move this 1, 2. Now I look again and say, do I have 3 anywhere else? I do not. Okay, my turn is over for that portion. Remember, we go here. I could buy a townsfolk. I will not. I'm going to check for collisions. They're close, but not yet. And then I'm going to draw up to my 3. So I get this squire. All right, onward to their AI. So just like us, we're going to move their card down 1 notch, and we're going to bring out the next card. So again, there's nothing on the top. He's going to dismiss again, so we're going to dismiss this guy. He gets to move his corruption once to the right. Move that there. He's going to move his Viscount 4 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Way over here. And then he's going to look here and he's going to try to build. So remember, to build, you either need to spend 3 hammers, 5 hammers, or 7 hammers. And that will determine what kind of building he builds. So let's count up his hammers. He's got 1, 2, 3, because he has a stone. Okay, so he can build the 3 buildings. So he's going to spend his stone. He's going to take the leftmost building off of there, and he's going to put it out here and put it on the leftmost spot. So that gives him a gold resource. Now you'll see that there is an emblem in between where the buildings are. What happens is if these 2 get completed, whoever has buildings touching those gets this resource or this action. So if he were to build one here eventually, he would get to move his virtue to the left one. If I build one here, once I built it here, we both would get to do that. So that's just like a little added bonus, basically to the what was I saying, to building things. So then what that does is unlocks this ability for him, that whenever this plus symbol happens, which he doesn't actually use according to his little player thing, but that does unlock the ability at that point where he will also dismiss a player and get something for that. We're going to check for corruption. There's no corruption, or not collision. There's no collision that is being met there, so we will move on. So let's go to our turn. Remember, we're going to move everything down one, and then we're going to decide what to play. Now, I don't have many resources. I just have this one inkwell, but I do have some money. So maybe I want to start using some of my bags here for trading, because I got 2 there, 3, 4, 5. That's kind of wild. So this one would move me 1 spot. So the problem with this is I cannot move up from this area. I can only move over. But you can pay $2 to move an additional spot. So what we're going to do is I'll show you how that works. So we're going to put her down. We're going to move 1 spot there. And then I'm going to spend $2. And I'm going to move up, because this has an arrow up, to this spot here. So now my action here, if I don't want to build, which I don't because I don't really have hammers, is for every 2 bags, I can get an inkwell. So I got 2, 3, 4, 5. So I could pay $2 and make it 6, or I could just turn in the 4. So I'm just going to use 1, 2, 3, 4 and get 2 inkwells. Put those there. I'm not going to recruit this person because I don't have enough money anyways. No collisions, so draw back up to 3 and moving on. All right, let's move theirs down. All right, so going to the first thing here, it wants to flip a deed or a debt. If you skip that little section, come over here, and it will always flip the cards that has the least amount flipped. So we already have 1 black flipped. We have no reds flipped. So it's going to flip this. So that's going to give it 3 points at the end of the game. It's going to move twice. So 1, 2. Now, if our Viscounts ever landed on each other, there is a little thing on your card over there explaining what to do. Basically, it makes it so that you can take these 3 cards and decide like to reorder them. So maybe this guy had a cool power that you get while he's on the board, but he's about to fall off. You can move him over here and make it so that that doesn't happen. But he didn't land on us, so it's fine. All right, and then we're going to look here. So it's going to try to do manuscripts. If he can't do manuscripts, he's going to try to do his favorite thing, which is also manuscripts. And then if he can't do that, he's going to try to do, well, he's going to add a red card and flip a black card. All right, so let's see if he can do the manuscripts, which I'm sure he can because he only needs 3 crosses. He has 1, 2, 3, and then he has all those, so he really has no problem there. So he's going to buy this, and right away he gets a resource. So remember, he keeps taking inkwells until he has 6, which he does not yet, so he will get an inkwell. there's no collisions yet, and that is the end of his turn. All right, so now what happens when we have 3 cards down here? Before you play, you're going to take this guy and you're going to discard him off of the board. At that point, because he had an X, you're going to get to do these. So he's going to move his virtue over 1, and it also allows us to buy any of the townsfolk out here for free. And when you buy them, you immediately get to do the rightmost action on their card. So let's see. Let's take her, put her there, and move her over there. So we have a collision, but we're not going to deal with that just yet because we only resolve the collisions at that part of our turn. So we're going to look at our person here. So I've got 3 inkwells. I got 4 because of that wild. So that's pretty good. Also him. So let's do this. So 2 allows us to move 2. So I'm going to go 1. So this is 1 and then down 2. So I need 4 crosses. So we got 1, 2, and I can use 3, 4. And I get this. So what does this tell me? I can move move my virtue token twice to the left. Now it's okay that they're collided because I haven't actually resolved that yet. So I'm going to move the whole stack over to the left like that. And then that is my action. I don't want to add a card, so now we're going to resolve the collision. So what you're going to do on the collision is you're going to look at this little chart, and whatever area you're at, you are going to do the top. The opponent is going to get what's on the bottom. So when you move this way and you collide on this half of it, you're going to end up getting a lot more red cards, which give you these points. If you collide on this side, also I guess if you have skulls though, you're going to be giving cards to your opponent. But if you collide on this side, you get more money, but you get more black cards. So we look here, we get $1. We get 3 red. So those, remember, are going to come off of these 12. So 1, 2, 3. So now we only have 9 red cards in the stack before it triggers the end of the game. And then we look down here, and because we have a skull on our board, the thief, our opponent is going to get 1 black card. So he is going to get that. At that point, you just put these back to where they belong, and our turn is over. So you've seen a collision, you've seen some turns. I guess the only other thing to mention is there will be times when you look at, let's see. Sorry, I was reading something. So I mentioned these black header cards. So every time like these go off and you run out, you're going to take a black card and put it into this pile, and then you're going to reshuffle them back over. There are also, I believe, some other times where it calls for you to do that same thing. And so what's going to happen is you're going to start mixing in these black header cards into the pile, which is going to give them more strength. It makes them the AI people more difficult to handle. They get some more. Let's see. I'll show you an example. You'll see they've got 2 resources up here, which I think more of the cards have 2 resources. They get to move these things probably a little more. It's just more powerful cards that will start getting mixed in. So the longer you're playing, the stronger their deck becomes. So you'd basically keep going until the red cards or the black cards run out. At that point, that's the final turn. At the end of the game, so say the red ones ran out first, and this is the card that is shown. So if the red cards run out first, it's actually whoever has the most black cards flipped scores some extra points. And they get this card, so you'll see that there's some extra ones up there. In reverse, if the black cards run out first and this card is underneath, whoever has the most reds flipped gets some extra points. So there's a nice like push-pull kind of tug-of-war there, where if you're grabbing up reds to try to end the game, and you've ignored blacks altogether, your opponent could get some points at the end of the game. You'll also score points for manuscripts. So like I said, there's these little colors. There's 4, and you'll see down here on this that for every like set, if you have all 4 together, you get 16 points. If you only have 3 of the colors, you get points for each worker that's in the level. So if you have, say, 3 guys in the middle level, that would be 9 points for those. So you count all that up. Your buildings up here count for points. So for one of these buildings being built, it's 4, but if you had all 3 built, it's 15. So you'll count up those. And let's see. I'm trying to think of what else. Oh, you also have your red and black cards. So if you flipped over any reds, those are 3 points. If they were unflipped, they're 1 point. Alternatively, the blacks, if you don't flip them, it's a negative 2 points. If you did flip them, then you just gained a resource. You don't have to worry about getting rid of any points there. And then the last thing would be any of those cards I mentioned at the beginning. So these extra cards, like if you were the first person to get somebody in the middle of the castle, or if you were to collect like 3 black manuscripts, you count up those points, and then you see who wins. So I know that it was a lot, but it is quite a meaty game. But I assure you, once you've played a couple rounds, it starts really making sense. The flow of the game is excellent. I love the playing with the cards and shifting them and kind of, planning out like, okay, these cards don't do anything when they come out, but when they fall off, I'm going to get a bonus. Mixing that with concentrating on what's going on with the board, I really like. And the solo play, as far as how these cards go, it's tough enough where you won't always win. I'll say that. The AI player wins quite a bit, but it's also nice knowing what they're concentrating on, so you can kind of play off that as well. So hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got something out of it. I really like this set of games. I like what this team is doing. I'm looking forward to their future stuff, and hopefully can pick some of those up and put videos out. Again, please take a look at our website at boardgamebreakdown.com, where we have a written review of this game up as well as others. You can find us on Instagram. We are board.game.breakdown if you want to check us out there. And obviously subscribe to the YouTube channel so you can catch any of the new videos we're putting up. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.